Hey guys, did you know that I have a Patreon where you can support me and plus get awesome rewards? Or if you're thinking to yourself, but Julian, I want even more bang for my buck while still supporting you, you can pop over to my Redbubble and check out my awesome store with new designs appearing regularly. But for now, enjoy the video you're about to watch. Hey everyone, this is just your friendly heads up warning that we're about to go into a critical reading of Jenna Moressi's The Savior's Champion, which will include every possible spoiler. So if you don't want spoilers and you don't have a sense of humor about Jenna's writing, then this video probably isn't for you. Otherwise, enjoy the show. Hey everybody, it's dark, but I'm gonna keep reading this book. You don't need to see me to hear my opinions on this book. And let's be honest, most of you are probably just listening to this by this point anyway. So let's just keep reading. Just Kinju is here though. And the next chapter is chapter 24, The Painting, where probably we get to find out what the fuck Tobias painted. He's painting lilies, his girlfriend's favorite flower. So, you know, thank goodness we were kept in suspense about that. And then they flirt for a while, and now she's gonna sit and watch him paint, and why am I reading this? So much unnecessary stuff. Ooh, we may finally be getting a sex scene again. They're making out, but are they going to be interrupted again? Let's be honest, probably. Because I don't know if Jenna's actually gonna let them have sex. Should be odd choice for a book. Like, she was very adamant that this was an adult book, and the adultness of it, I suppose, is the swearing and violence. But the violence, I mean, I've read a lot of young adult books that have violence on par with this, easily. And the swearing actually makes it feel more juvenile than adult. So, I don't know, like, I was expecting a sex scene. I guess we'll find out if we ever actually get one. Well, she's giving him a bit of a hand job, so at least we're getting that much. And they've been interrupted, right when she was about to get his dick out. I'm a little bit confused by what's happening now. They're in a challenge called the Sovereign's Choice, where the Sovereign, who hates Tobias, gets to, like, do something. It's not clear yet, but two men can be released. The one's least fit to marry the Savior, according to her dad. And it's like, and maybe it'll become clear later, is released, does that just mean killed? I'm assuming it just means killed, because we keep going over and over how, like, nobody gets free, you always get killed.
Law said death was a release, not a punishment.
But maybe this is different, because we keep coming up with new, like, as it has always been style rules that we don't know about. But now Tobias, I'll just read it, maybe it'll make more sense. Per tradition, the Savior is not without a say in the Sovereign's choice. It is within her power to select one man to be free from release. Does that mean she gets to release one man, or one man cannot be released because she said so? What do you think, Adam?
Well, you have to interpret using context, so I would keep going, and hopefully it explains it in the next couple
I
sentences.
tried, and it doesn't. Real quick little clarification from the future. I believe I forgot to mention that, I'm pretty sure if I'm remembering correctly, Cosima does say that Tobias can go. So, he is free, he's out, as far as he is concerned, for that moment. Later he says the second man to be honorably released from the Sovereign's tournament is the intellect. So does that mean the second man, including Tobias, or the second man ever, including that guy that they released much earlier? Okay, Tobias thinks to himself, I'm leaving this tournament, I'm leaving now. So I guess that means that he is out? Suddenly Tobias has developed concern for the Savior, which he did not have before. He's decided rather than to just leave, he's going to stand up to the Sovereign and yell at him for sending the other guy, the intellect, home, and keeping, like, the murderous ones to woo the Savior. And it feels kind of out of nowhere for Tobias. Like, this doesn't seem like a choice that he would make. You'd think he would be like, I'm out of here, bye. You know, and then he would be working on figuring out a way to take Layla with him. Not like, oh yeah, by the way, I'm gonna literally look this gift horse in the mouth and stand up to the sovereign for his daughter, whom I really don't care about. And every time I have to even sit next to her, I think about how much I dislike her. Next page, the sovereign is like, but for whatever reason, my daughter, the daft cunt, she saved you. So here we are, stuck with one another yet again. So I guess Tobias does have to stay, and she was saying, I free you from being released, meaning you cannot be released from the tournament.
Released through death.
I mean, it's odd phrasing to say I free you from being released, since they kind of, like in your head, kind of mean the same thing, even though we all know released probably means death. But it could have been phrased differently to make it clearer, and I wouldn't have just spent the last page confused. And I guess we don't, well, maybe we'll find out later. Raphael's just taken away by guards, and it's unclear if he's being killed or released. But maybe we'll find that out. Maybe, like, later Layla will come into his room and be like, BT dubs, he was killed. Oh, Flynn is ambling. We found Jenna's favorite word, amble.
Ambling man.
The ambling man. Lots of characters amble, especially in the second half of this book. She's really come into her love of the word amble in the second half of this book. Now, I have another theory. Pretty much all of Toby's allies are gone, except for Flynn, whom he hates, and we're kind of not supposed to like either. And I have a suspicion that Flynn is going to definitely stab Tobias in the back a little bit later, which I think could have been, that's just a theory. We'll see if it happens, but, like, Flynn is, like, talking to Tobias right now, and Tobias is like so over him and done and does not want to be around him or whatever. And it might have been a little bit more powerful if he does stab him in the back for them to not have quite such animosity. I don't know. I don't completely understand their animosity. I suppose it's just because Flynn's a little bit skeezy and Tobias is super awesome, nice boy. So that's why they don't get on. Oh, Flynn is confronting him about trying to have sex with Layla, and I'm like, he's not wrong. Tobias is not here for the reason he's supposed to be here for. In fact, Flynn is like the only person who still is. Although I'm not sure why Flynn would be pissed about it, because that means Cosima is like all his. So Flynn is, understandably angry, and maybe this might be a good moment that I'm actually liking. After several chapters of me not liking stuff, Flynn is, I agree, I agree with his motivation. He's understandably upset that Tobias is considered like the best one and given all of these laurels and loved by the people, because in Flynn's mind, Tobias has done everything wrong. He's not there for the right reasons, and he's screwing over everybody else who is there for the right reasons. And yeah, go Flynn. Yeah, Flynn's definitely my favorite character, because, like, he's a dick, and he's not the best person, but, like, he has depth. Yeah, he's maybe there for the wrong reasons, but at the same time, it's like, he's the only one who seems to be there for the right reasons. I don't know, it doesn't make sense, but I really like Flynn. He's more complex than any of the other characters. He's like, you can tell that his feelings are hurt because Tobias was totally choosing to be friends with other people over him, even though he was, spent a lot of time trying to be Tobias's friend. Even before Tobias was cool, Flynn wanted to be his friend. So, yeah, it's completely understandable that Flynn is really pissed off right now. And we're supposed to be not on his side, I think. We're supposed to be on Tobias' side. Tobias is like, well, you don't even know the Savior and blah, blah, blah. And it's like, well, none of you know the Savior, but you're here to marry her. That's kind of the point. Oh, Flynn here says, you survive the tournament, and then what? If you win, you win Cosima, and if you lose, you die. Tell me, in what reality do you see yourself with Layla? In what world are the two of you together when this is all over? He is not wrong.
I keep Layla as my mistress.
Yeah.
Mistresses exist.
Maybe. Yeah, Flynn's bringing up nothing but good points. Now he points out that, like, not only is Tobias endangering himself, but he's totally endangering Layla, because obviously neither of these boys know that Layla is actually the savior. Yeah, he's completely right about, like, all of this. Oh, and now Toby's gonna strangle him. Oh, Tobias even points out that Flynn hasn't killed anyone during this tournament, and Tobias has. Which, usually in this kind of story, it is the good guy, the main character that you're trying to follow, who doesn't kill anyone. So, new headcanon, Flynn is actually the main character, and I would read that book. And literally, Flynn comes in here, and he's like, all I want you to do is break it off with Layla. Because you're gonna win the tournament, and if that's the case, then you should just marry the savior and not be doing this thing with Layla. He's like, I have all this information about you, I know you're fucking the healer, and I could tell the people in charge and you would be so dead, but I'm not going to. All I want you to do is do right by this tournament, and you know what? Flynn for president. I love him. Also, I just really liked that scene because it gave us some kind of stakes now, because we know that Tobias, the main character, is not gonna die, but this kind of gives, like, some drama and some stakes, and, like, it's about time. I'm curious why Layla doesn't just reveal who she is at this point. This would be a good point for her to be like, stop freaking out, Tobias. You don't have to kill your ex-friend or was never your friend, whatever, because you're in love with the right girl. I'm the savior. I mean, that would obviously leave a lot of book to go with no big twist for the very end, but this seems like a reasonable spot where she would do it. Okay, so it does sound like what's-his-name got to be released without being killed. Yeah, I think he got to be released without being killed. So I'm confused why everybody was making, like, shitting themselves, like, no one can be released from the tournament except for this one guy that we released earlier on a huge technicality because the savior said so. And then it's actually built into a later challenge. Why not just kill him? Why not just kill all these people? Oh, maybe she's gonna tell him. Tobias is like, I know you're lying to me about some things.
Too early.
I mean, there's this much book left.
Yeah, but drama. And aren't there sequels? There's no way they're gonna find out in this book.
No, they definitely find out in this book, because I heard there's a twist at the end of this book, and my theory is that's what the twist is. And the sequel is actually one of those, the same book written from a different character's point of view nonsense.
50 Shades Grayer.
Yeah, or whatever. Grey, whatever that book is. And
it's an easy way to make more money. If
it
the
is
first
an
book
easy
sells.
way. It is an easy way to make more money. If people are like,
lazy writer, I'm like, I can't think of a new story. I'll just retell this one.
You heard it right here, folks. It is lazy in my opinion, but that's just me.
As a coder and a programmer, we say lazy efficient because there's no need to reinvent the wheel.
I mean,
but
yeah, if she's trying to make money and her goal is to live off of her writing and she knows that she can make money with a book that's essentially the last book, but from a different point of view, yeah, why wouldn't you? A lot of authors have, and they've been successful. So Tobias has put his foot in it and been like, Layla, you're lying to me and I hate you, rah. And he's like, oh no, I didn't mean it. And she's like, oh, you meant it. And now they're going to have yet another, like, little split up. Again.
Is this the Great Misunderstanding?
This is like the Great Misunderstanding 2, because they've already done this once. Not with this conflict, but with a different conflict. Because, you know, a couple that's together for too long, people get bored. So you have to have, like, we're trying to, and I know we're trying to ramp up the tension because we're getting to the end of the book, and we had the whole tension building thing with Flynn, and now we've got this where it's like, oh no, Layla and Toby hate each other now. I don't care.
Haven't they heard anything about the Belgariad and the Malaroon? There's like 2 series of series with like 5 or 6 books apiece, and they have consistent, steady couples throughout.
But what about the drama? The drama. Alright, so she did not tell him the secret, and she screamed at him to leave because they're in a fight, and we have to have that drama as well. But we'll be on to chapter 25 next, the Royals. I don't know how many chapters are left. like 4 chapters left, so we're getting there. We are on the home stretch, y'all. Thank goodness. I was gonna mention this at the end of this read through, and I probably will again if I remember, but since Adam has brought it up, I know she's writing the next book, and I know it's going to be taking place during this book from Layla's point of view. At least I'm pretty sure. It'd be more interesting if it was from Cosima's point of view, but I think it's going to be from Layla's. And I really don't have any interest in reading it unless, and I'm thinking of doing this, I'm gonna try to figure out how to get like a goal set up on Patreon, and you all can vote with your wallets and let me know if you want me to do a read-along of that when it comes out. So I'll figure that out once I'm finished with this, once all of this is squared away, and y'all can let me know whether that is something that you want to see, because I'm not going to do it by myself, probably. I mean, there's a chance that I would anyway, because if these videos end up being wildly successful, okay, maybe I do more, even though I hate it. But if you want to make sure, I will have a way for you to do that, to ensure that you may boss me around and tell me to read the next book in this series. But anyway, that's enough jabber from me, and I will probably see you again in a couple seconds with the next chapter. Bye! Welcome back, everybody. I'm in my pajamas. It's late at night. We're going to read chapter 25 of The Savior's Champion. Adam isn't here to save you, so this is how it's going to be. But, like, fam, we're getting so close, but there's still so many chapters left. It's not even that this book is that bad, it's just, like, I think I would have stopped. Given my druthers, if I wasn't, like, doing this for this or doing it for review, I probably would have just gotten bored and stopped reading this book a little while ago. And just, like, I wouldn't have been like, I hate this and like, threw it. I would have just set it down and probably never picked it up again. But we're gonna go on. We're gonna go on. Kinshu is right here. I feel like Tobias has an alarming sort of jealousy problem, an idea of how couples should be. Now, I mean, every couple's different, but, like, he just saw a guard go by. He was thinking to himself, like, maybe it'd be better if Layla found somebody else. And then he saw a guard go by, and he got mad at the guard because he's a hypothetical boyfriend of Layla's. And he also gets pissed if, you know, if he was to ever look at Cosima, you know, or if she was to ever flirt with him or whatever. And it's like, that's not in your control, man. You just don't have to, like, flirt back. But it's like, there's this expectation from Tobias that, like, once you're in a relationship with someone, you can never find another human being attractive, and if the person you're in a relationship with finds another human being attractive, they are terrible too. There's just kind of a vibe that I get from old Toby here, and I don't think it's healthy. My husband and I totally accept that we still get crushes on people. It's whether you act or not, that's the thing. You can find another human being attractive and still be in a healthy, committed relationship. Found another instance of the word ambled. The men ambled into line. Jenna's favorite word. Now I'm noticing it every time. I want to know. I want to do one of those things where, like, you find out how many of a certain word are in a manuscript. I want to find out how many times she uses ambled. So now Tobias and company are being forced to meet a bunch of royals from other lands, and I'm not really sure why. I guess to make sure that they can kind of behave themselves, because eventually, if they're the sovereign, they'll have to negotiate with these people? Maybe? It seems like a really weird thing. Like, they're supposed to just stand there and be quiet while they're looked at by these rulers, and I'm not entirely certain I understand it. And of course, Tobias is pointing out these people and, like, where they're from, like the monarch of Ethua, and the king of Kovar, and the princess of Trigolia. And they don't mean anything because we're not going to go to these lands, and none of this is going to matter for the story. So again, I haven't even finished the scene, and I think it's a scene that does not need to be here. Unless we are going to visit these far-off lands, or these far-off lands, or politicians from these far-off lands are going to matter. Dealing with these far-off lands is going to matter at some point in a future story, which I kind of doubt. None of this matters. I think Jenna is just making one last ditch effort to make her world seem bigger and more fleshed out, but it is too late. It's still jarring when the royals will suddenly say something like, he's a miserable little shit. Like, I'm able to get into this a little bit, and I'm able to read it in the voices that I feel like these characters would have, and then all of a sudden, they say, he's a miserable little shit, and there's Jenna's voice saying those exact words, and it makes it feel like none of the characters have their own voice. It makes it feel like we're reading all of this. Just in Jenna Moressi's video-making voice is the one that I hear, and it's really hard to get into this book because of that. It's hard to lose yourself in the moment when you can be snapped out by things like that. Once again, just reading along, the royals are all talking like royals. They're starting to even have British accents in my head, and then the sovereign says, please excuse the artist, he's a deplorable cunt. Just using the C word doesn't mean that your book is, like, adult. And it can, in fact, be damaging to a book in more than just making it not for kids. Like, you might think that the only disadvantage of using language like this is that your book isn't for kids. But there are other disadvantages to using more modern... I mean, cunt isn't super modern, but the way we use it now kind of is, and the way he uses it. And saying that someone's a little shit and stuff like that, it just doesn't fit with the otherwise tone of these characters. Now, I know Jenna would completely lose her mind at that suggestion, because she's really attached to these swear words, but it would have been fine. Removing these would not have made it a worse book. And now, for whatever reason, the other competitors have been lined up to take turns punching Tobias, and trying to figure out what this achieves. Is this to make us feel sorry for Tobias? Is this to let us know that everyone's his enemy? Because we already know that. Is this to start him out in the fight the next day with on a bad foot? Or is it so that Layla will have to come to him to heal his face? My money's on that last one, because they have to reconcile. One of the other things that this scene may be doing is making it clear that Tobias is out of allies. He has no more allies, so that we can have the hero goes alone trope. Which, honestly, I don't think I mentioned in any of my recent Tropes I Hate video, but... lo and behold, the hero goes alone is a trope that I am fairly tired of. It's up to your personal taste. I'm kind of sick of it. I think it's overdone. I like the hero to have friends, and for teamwork to win the day, and friendship is magic. That's just where my personal preference is at. So he did briefly find Layla, but she was coming out of a fresh murder, so she was distracted. Yeah. So she killed somebody, I guess. I don't know who. Maybe it was Cosima. Dun dun dun. Okay, Tobias is back out with the royals again, and it makes me wonder how Tobias knows about all of these realms. Like, he doesn't just know what they're called, he knows details about them. Like, one of them is the wettest one. This is raining. And he's like, well, that ruler is used to it, because their realm is the wettest, and... is that just common knowledge among peasants? Might be nice to know whether that's common or whether Tobias has some kind of extra education. I don't know. Shrug. Huh. Okay, this makes me wonder if the previous scene was moved. Because they're outside now, and it's been a minute, and Tobias is mocking Drake because Tobias cut Drake's ear off in a previous fight, and now it's all bandaged up, and he's making fun of him. But there was absolutely no mention of the bandages or that in the previous scene. At least I don't think so. I think it was mentioned that someone's arm was bandaged, or their ribs, but not his head being all bandaged up. Which makes me wonder if that previous scene came from somewhere else and was put there. Many of us writers have done that kind of scene surgery, and you have to be careful to make sure that you get all the details right. I don't know. Working theory, I guess. Tobias is going to have to fight all of these terrible bully boys, and also Flynn. Will Flynn have a last-minute redemption moment? We will see. I feel like no, but maybe. Maybe there will be that moment. Maybe he's setting this up, pretending to be on the side of the bad guys, and then really he's going to help Tobias out. He seems like a really cowardly character and not terribly likely to break out of that mold. Most of the characters in this book do not break out of the molds that they are in, so we'll see. I have hopes that maybe he'll redeem himself at the last minute, just because, like, that's a cliche that I enjoy, but probably not. The question is, who is Tobias going to kill, and is he going to kill all of them in this chapter, or are we going to save some of their deaths for future chapters? Also, Tobias was, like, punched very much, and doesn't seem to remember that. Like, there's no mention of swelling or his nose being sore or anything like that. He's just here to fight, man. And he didn't even get healed by Layla, so I don't know. He's just probably still covered in blood and has a broken nose. Doesn't even seem to care. More reason that that previous scene maybe didn't belong there, because Tobias is not showing any signs of the broken face that they gave him in that scene. Well, and Tobias just went Super Saiyan. They were all sitting on top of him, just beating the shit out of him, and then he was just like, "This is not how I die," and just, like, sprang up from beneath them. And the other competitors scattered through the turf like leaves. Are we saying that Tobias actually has some kind of magical power? Or are we supposed to believe that you can just decide to stop being beaten to death and just, like, shove everyone off as though they are nothing? I don't know. Guess we'll find out. Julian from the future again. Some of you may be thinking that perhaps Tobias has what is called hysterical strength, which Wikipedia defines, my scholarly source of Wikipedia. Hysterical strength is a display of extreme strength by humans beyond what is believed to be normal, usually occurring when people are in life and death situations. Common anecdotal examples include parents lifting vehicles to rescue their children. The extra strength is commonly attributed to an increased adrenaline production, though supporting evidence is scarce and inconclusive when available. Also, it says hysterical strength can result in torn muscles due to higher mechanical stress. Now, I am also reading a slightly more scholarly article from the BBC's website, which does support hysterical strength, although it mentions that most reported hysterical strength examples describe a person lifting a portion of a vehicle several inches off the ground, not the entire automobile. There's the catch: 3 of the vehicle's wheels, or maybe even all 4, depending on the suspension, remain on the ground, distributing the total weight of the vehicle. So, hysterical strength may very well exist and give you the power to lift something very large, if you need to. It also goes on to talk about how our brain is the gating mechanism for what we do, not as much as our muscles. So if we can ignore our brain and push past, we can do great feats of hysterical strength. It does also mention that the adrenaline rush that comes along with this hysterical strength moments also has a lot to do with your ability, because adrenaline masks the pain that you would be in. So it is feasibly possible that Tobias just had this moment where he decided, this isn't how I die, and somehow shoved all of these men off of him. However, it also mentions that the result of this sort of thing can be torn muscles and broken bones. So Tobias is not going to be walking away from this feeling really great. Is he pulling a Rock Lee?
よーしこれで楽に動けるぞいや少しくらいの重りを外したところでガーラの砂についていけるわけが
This really does seem like an anime fight scene. Just Tobias's just sudden fighting ability and the way that he just takes blow after blow and then just gets back up and gets back to hitting the enemies. It really does feel like an anime fight scene. It does not feel anything like how an actual fight would go. And I am waiting to see if Tobias has magic. Now, I understand that adrenaline is a thing and anger is a thing, but there are 3 people against 1, 2 of which are experienced, hardened murderers. And while Tobias has killed in this competition, he is not trained to fight at all. So he should not be winning, no matter how much rage, no matter how much adrenaline he has. Oh, we know We know what you think about Toby. We know where your loyalties lie 100%. His gaze panned from man to man. Flynn, who had betrayed him. Kaleo, who killed Milo, Orion. And then there was Drake, who had put his hands on Layla. And that was all Tobias needed. He barreled towards Drake before he could stop himself, letting out a guttural roar. So yeah, Tobias cares about Layla, and Layla only. Like, he could have looked at Kaleo and been like, and Kaleo also killed my sister and my family, but he didn't touch my girlfriend, so he's probably fine. I'll save him for later. And can you really betray someone who kind of low-key hated you this entire time? Like, Tobias never liked Flynn, and Flynn must have realized it at some point and been like, this guy is not my friend, he doesn't care about me, he doesn't like me. So, can Flynn really betray someone who never wanted him around in the first place? Also, if we didn't have that incredibly contrived scene where Drake inexplicably went after Layla, then Drake would literally not have really done anything to Tobias, at least according to Tobias's list. I guess I don't remember everything that Drake has done, but mostly Drake has just kind of been there in the background being menacing, so we needed that super contrived scene where he suddenly randomly went after Layla, so that Tobias has a reason for his super rage revenge powers. Also, while Tobias is killing Drake, the other two, Flynn and the other guy, Kaleo, apparently just fine to watch, because they're not doing shit. So Tobias is killed again. We all knew he would. He's going to have to win this tournament. Oh, unless they have Kaleo and fucking... I can't remember anyone's names. Kaleo and Flynn kill each other or something. Tobias is gonna have to kill again. His murder streak will go on. And I mean, he's a little upset about it, but we have yet to have an explanation for the literal superpowers that he seems to have in this scene, other than, don't put your hands on my girlfriend powers. I don't know. I mean, like, let's use my husband as an example. He loves me very much, and he would definitely 100% fight for me. Tooth and nail, as hard as he could. Would he win a fight against two hardened, experienced killers and another guy who helps those killers? Probably not. Even if he was pissed, even if he was filled with adrenaline, he probably would not win that fight. And I don't see Tobias as that much more skilled than your average husband of mine, you know? So, maybe I don't remember what it was like to be a young adult anymore. Maybe you just filled with that kind of powers. But I doubt it. Anyway, that was that chapter over with. I'm so close to the end, though. I'm going to try to power through very soon. Hey everyone, it is shout out time. Time to shout out to my patrons, Amanda, Ashley, Kim, Lisa, Ramona, Sabby Panda, and Sarah. If you want to be great like these amazing people, then become my patron over on Patreon.